Well, hello and good afternoon, everybody. Welcome here to the iRacing Esports Network and SMB's presentation of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors 10th Anniversary Special here at Road Atlanta. It's myself, Ron Mullins, and Charles Beauchel with you on the call here for this race. Unfortunately, due to technical issues, we're just getting in under the wire right now, folks, but we have got a very good race to look forward to here today. Some of the Weekend Warriors' best out here on the racetrack for what's going to be a very fun 40-minute long race that lies ahead. The usual format here in the Weekend Warriors. Charles, quick thoughts before we get into this race. We're coming in under the wire. We're at gas. We're at full speed, and these races are going to be at full speed soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm just so proud to be part of the Weekend Warriors and happy to broadcast this on the iRacing Network. We're on the back stretch now. We'll try and run through the order as we get going, but let's have us a fun race.
Yeah, it's going to be a very fun race here today. Do want to raise some of the drivers a little bit farther in the back. Ian Joyner, a past champion of the Formula 1600 Weekend Warriors. Steve Elson, Jason Grider, Weekend Warriors veteran, and Kevin Adrian off the back of a win in the Spec 2 category in the FF 1600 Weekend Warriors earlier on today, broadcasted on Slow Motion Broadcasting, not taking the start of this race as they're down in the pits at the moment. Not sure what the deal is for them. It's Eric, Luke, and Jörg Mani, past Weekend Warriors champions and top running racers here in this series, about to get this race up and rolling as a green flag is that the drivers are on their way. After 10 years of Weekend Warriors action, we're here to have some fun. The drivers head their way down to turn number one. Eric Luke gonna try and cover off that challenge from Jörg Mani on the outside as they're side by side down off into 1 and 2. Racing going on for Josh Soto and Kane Halliburton as well. David Gaspers and Scott Russell also duking it out a little bit farther behind, but Eric Luke jumping into is a wreck farther behind. That Scott Russell getting sent off into the grass.
Yeah, Scott Russell coming up through turn 2 and 3. Looks like he's still off the track. He's going to drop way back to the bottom of the order and try and recycle back on. But a great battle up front to start this race with Luke and Monty.
Yeah, fantastic start there from Eric Luke. He's going to lead them as they head their way down into the bottom end of the circuit, off through 6 and 7 at the present moment for Eric Luke. It's a bit of a breakaway that we've got going on right now. Eric Luke, Jörg Mani, Josh Soto, Kane Halliburton, and David Gaspers involved in their own little battle for now. Have to go a little bit farther in the back as that's Nathaniel Schramm with a moment heading down into turn number 6 and 7. He's gone off the circuit. Unfortunate start for the driver of the number 26 machine. We have a stacked grid of racers here. Do want to raise that Jason Grider, Steve Elson, and Kevin Adrian. Actually, I will correct that statement. Jason Grider, Ian Joyner, and Elson have rejoined the race, I believe, but they're still well farther in the back as we take a look at side-by-side racing going on up at the front. That's Jörg Mani and Josh Soto getting past Eric Luke. Soto off the back of a very good performance a little bit earlier on this afternoon in the FF 1600 Weekend Warriors at Sebring earlier on today. These Spec Racer Fords, though, a very different kettle of fish.
Yeah, absolutely. These cars are draft monsters, and you get double, 2-car passing the leader going down into the 10A and B chicane. So obviously there'll be a lot of action there on that back stretch as we continue on during this race.
Yeah, a lot of action to look forward to, a lot of things that can bite these racers all throughout today, but in the early stages of this race, it's looking very, very smooth. And for those tuning into this broadcast on the iRacing Esports Network, not familiar with this series and the way these races work, 40 minutes of racing action, rolling starts as we just saw a few moments ago. Some of these racers in this event, reigning champions, many of them have been around the block before here in the Weekend Warriors broadcasted with all the wonderful people that we have here at SMB. It's going to be a good show, going to be a good day of racing action, and we are still firmly underway, but not a lot of time already into this race. Only 2.5 minutes on the board of this 40-minute long event, so still plenty of opportunities for racers to dive their way through the field.
Yeah, absolutely. As we've got a 48-car field today for this anniversary race. Some names from the past have come back to participate in the event. Obviously, this is non-points. This is not a league event. So this is just a special event. We've got a lot of our former drivers involved in this, as we've got another past, Jörg Mani taking the lead. Multiple-time champion Jörg Mani, one of our Masters class drivers, and having a good run so far. See if we can run through the field a little bit there, Ron, and see if we can get a few of these names out there and get some screen time for these guys.
Yeah, see some of the wonderful races that we have in the Weekend Warriors. Some of the best racing that I've ever gotten the privilege and opportunity to cover in my iRacing broadcasting career, coming up to 3 years now that I've been doing this stuff, has been with the Weekend Warriors and the Spec Racer Fords. Always put on a good race. These drafting monsters put on some good stuff. And that's Thomas Renders and Josh Wilkie ending up in some drama and contact being made as getting spun off into the fences. Colin Earl, as a result of all that drama, heading down off into turn number 2, 3, and 4. The S's right towards the beginning of this lap. Bit of a choke point around this circuit. Doesn't matter what kind of car you're in, that can always be a trouble spot.
Yeah, absolutely. And Colin Earl does have a meatball flag, so he'll have to come in and make a stop. There is a mandatory pit stop involved in this race. Those cars generally won't have enough fuel, so they're going to have to come in anyway as we get the blast down the backstretch again for the next for this lap. Luke, Josh Soto, Kane Halliburton, David Gaspers, completely fantastic. Gaspers, fantastic driver, has been in and out of this, as we said. I think that's Dirk Braun off in the grass coming out of turn 1. And just loops it around, gets that car reset. We talked about these cars being draft monsters. They do draft really well. They make big holes in the air. But there's not a lot of aerodynamic grip to be used here. It's mainly all mechanical, so they'll be stressing those tires out during this 40 minutes.
Yeah, so the tire is going to be cooked by the end of this. Just touching on the weather conditions that we have here in this race, a wonderful iRacing dynamic weather system that we have got, giving us a rather warm racetrack presently. 102 degrees Fahrenheit is your current track temperature. Ambient temperature is looking a bit more habitable at 82 Fahrenheit. I say that, though, I'm definitely a little bit biased. Anything above about 70 degrees and I start to turn into a giant puddle on the ground. But we still have these cars running around this racetrack and try not to turn their tires into the puddle as they're still in the early stages of this race. Want to go through the field, let you know that Eric Luke is your race leader about halfway through this third lap. Joshua Soto slotted in P2, a very talented racer. He's also won in the SCCA virtual runoffs broadcasted on the iRacing channel many moons ago. Kane Halliburton slotted in third, a top running racer in any sort of car. I actually first got used to Kane Halliburton as a driver on iRacing, covering the Radical SR10 official series that you can catch, and RaceSpot TV's coverage of that every single Friday that I happen to commentate on here on the iRacing YouTube channel as well. Halliburton, a very talented racer, pretty darn good in the Spec Racer Fords, has some wins and many good results of note in his time in the Weekend Warriors.
Yeah, absolutely. As we go down, David Gaspers, as I mentioned earlier, in fourth. Jorg Monty, multiple-time champion in the Spec Racer. In fifth, we've got, I think we're getting some good news from our production engineer, Guido Marzucchi. We had some technical drama right before the race. As we continue on, Flavio Andolo, Joao Tabino, Antonio Reese, Josh Justice, and Jason Green, now your top 10. And we'll mention, obviously, Antonio Reese, multi-time champion as well. Tabino, Andolo, great drivers in their own right. Josh Justice is an actual Spec Racer driver in real life. Always brings something to the table when he's out here. And Jason Green just always seems to be a great racer, but always seems to be in the right place at the right time in some of these races.
And, you know, as we see these racers running at the absolute limit of control, sometimes a little bit over that. In the case of Andre Favini, who's dropping down like a stone thrown into a pond, he's fallen outside the top 35 and will continue to drop back after a few moments ago. I do want to mention the fact that the stream's looking a little bit prettier. We've been able to get our graphics up and rolling. Has a slight technical issue there. Talking about these awesome racers, I want to talk about our awesome producer, Mr. Guido Marzucchi. He has been juggling chainsaws for the past 45 minutes, getting this show up and rolling, dealing with a litany of technical issues. He's been able to master them like a charm, one of the best in the business, working the cameras and the graphics here on this show. Eric Luke and Josh Soto still running nose to tail. One thing you're going to see a lot of throughout this race, these Spec Racer Fords, as I mentioned a few moments ago, drafting machines, drafting beasts even. There are not a lot of cars on the iRacing platform, with maybe the exception of the Formula V and the Radical SR10, that can draft stronger, that are primarily road course cars. These Spec Racer Fords, for as long as I've had the opportunity to cover the Weekend Warriors for about 3 years now, they're just insane in terms of the drafting effect. It's basically as if you put a giant vacuum cleaner on the back of these cars, clicked it onto the low carpet setting, and let these racers suck cars back to the right back of them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly what happens when they're easy. You've seen these cars make up almost a second on a lap just by being able to pull a draft on a long straightaway. They're amazing machines to race. Always provide close racing, and and these drivers provide that as well, as we're watching them work their way down through the back stretch here again. As we're on board, looks like we're on board there with Kane Halliburton, and working his way around. This is, I think, turn 6 into 7. So now they're on the back stretch. So they're headed down the back stretch now, and we'll see who jumps out to make a pass. And it's all basically, it's not really about a strategy. It's just kind of jockeying for position. You get such a great run in these cars down these long straightaways. It's you either move over so you can pass, or you run into the back of the car, and that's what they're trying to avoid. Obviously, they're going to keep this race clean as they can. We've seen a couple of incidents here and there, as we see Josh Wilkie's front end with a little bit of aero damage, but that won't affect him too much. He should be able to draft up behind one of the other cars with no problem.
Yeah, so with a small little bit of damage, thankfully here in the Weekend Warriors, these drivers do have a faster pair allotted to them, so it won't be completely game over for Wilkie, as we see side-by-side racing going on with two of the Weekend Warriors Series admins. It's Jim Brewster, who handles the Formula V Weekend Warriors side of things, and Stevie Ray, the namesake of Ray Esports, battling out in that battle for P26 at the current moment. They keep it clean and tidy as they headed their way off through the turn 10 chicane. Stevie able to jump his way up into P26 as Jim Brewster drops down into 28th. We ride on board with Jason Grider, a venerated racer here in the Weekend Warriors world, the 552 car. Ooh, boy, worst time to get the hiccups. The 552 car currently slotted in P41 with a lot of talented racers all throughout this field, and names that we recognize from both Weekend Warriors and Racing Period. Running right behind Jason Grider, a little bit farther behind him, is a real-life SCCA announcer, a man who is no stranger to spec racer Ford machinery in terms of commentating it. It's Brian Belansky, slotted in P42. Nice to see Brian out there on the racetrack here today.
Yeah, absolutely, and we won't mention his iRating, but obviously does a great job. I've heard a lot of his broadcasts. Does a great job with broadcasting the SCCA. So it's good to see him out there competing. Jason Grider back there in the back started from the pit, so he's able to get on the track. He's picked up a few positions from some other cars having issues. So he's not out of this yet. These cars, they just have a tendency on these tracks where they get a lot of draft, just have a tendency to kind of stick together for quite a bit longer than normal.
As we see, we're still in the early stages of this race, a tick over 11 minutes on the clock. Do want to run through the classes that we have here in this series. For those not familiar with the Weekend Warriors world, 3 different classes of racers. The red small little tickers on our graphic mark at the Spec 1 competitors. The Spec 1 racers, top of the top, creme de la creme. It used to be broken up by I rating. Drivers above a 3,500 I rating would get put into Spec 1. There have been some changes over the past couple of seasons to change the classification, but still the top running racers and the usual race win contenders overall are those Spec 1 drivers. Eric Luke originally entered this series as a Spec 2 racer that you can see marked off as green. The Spec 2 racers, while they may have a slightly lower rating than those Spec 1 competitors, they are still incredible racers in their own regard. Eric Luke, when he was in his championship campaign a couple of seasons ago in the Spec 2 class, he nearly ended up winning multiple races overall during that season, and he moved on to Spec 1, was last season actually able to start season 3 of 2025 in the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors with an overall race win at Interlagos, which is something that had eluded him for many times in his Spec 2 campaign, as Kane Halliburton and Josh Soto duking it out in this side-by-side scrap as they head their way down the backstretch off into the turn 10 chicane. Swaparoo not going to go on as Halliburton keeps right behind in third. And then to touch on the final classification of drivers that we have, it's the Masters class. These drivers, Masters of Machine, and they're 60 years of age and older. You see the likes of Jörg Monty, Adam Bradshaw, Tom Gradwell, Kurt Nunez. Many of these racers that you see have been around the block before in the Weekend Warriors. Chris Murakami, he's been around for many moons, and even some of the Spec 1 racers. One driver, unfortunately, not here today, but I can see him in the YouTube chat. He's a very good racer in these cars and a very nice fellow who I've seen drive many a different race car in my iRacing broadcasting career. Felix Samoas, a couple of seasons ago here in the Weekend Warriors, celebrated 5 years in Weekend Warriors competition. I'm coming up to my 3rd year of commentary. Charles, I think you're coming up to your 3rd year covering the Weekend Warriors as well. Pretty much everybody around here has been around the block before in the Weekend Warriors. Love to see a community like that. Oh, no! That's Josh Flores getting sent off into the wall.
Well, yeah, caught the curb and just started losing the rear. Obviously, it slowed his progression down. And there was a car on the inside, and nowhere for that car to go. Contact made, and Flores into the wall. Yeah, just to follow up on that, Ron, I checked just to make sure. My first broadcast with the Weekend Warriors, the Spec Racer, was on January 8th of 2023.
I think my first ever Weekend Warriors broadcast was in March of 2023. It was my 2nd ever show, I believe, with a very nice man, Mr. Tim Cox, who we will be mentioning a little bit later on. He was my immediate predecessor in terms of being the lead commentator on these broadcasts. A very nice man, and someone who's helped me out a whole lot in my broadcasting career as I've gone from a loudmouth 18-year-old to a loudmouth 20-year-old who makes falling anvil jokes on iRacing shows. As Josh Soto briefly getting abducted by a UFO as he headed his way all through the final corner. Soto, a very talented racer, and one that we've seen do well in many different race cars in the Ray Esports world. Could be a Formula V, it could be a Formula Ford, could be a Spec Racer Ford. We've even seen him do well in the old Ray Esports Club Racing League that you'll be able to catch this upcoming fall, hopefully on the Slow Motion Broadcasting YouTube channel. He won in GT4 machinery as well. Josh Soto, a very versatile racer and a very quick racer as well.
Yeah, indeed, he is. We've always talked about Josh being a very fast racer, but sometimes is his own worst enemy when he's on the track. And I think he'll be the first to tell you that it's sometimes it gets away from him, and not much he can do about it. But obviously, when he's on point, he's up at the front most often, more likely than not. So having a great battle so far up there in the front of the field with Eric Luke, Kane Halliburton, David Gasper's all fantastic racers in their own right.
And one man that I do want to bring attention to, trying to figure out where he is at there on the racetrack, as we'll hold off on that point, as Kane Halliburton once again thought about going for a move down the backstretch into the turn 10 chicane, but thought better of it. These racers still packed in like sardines at the front of the field. You can see the gaps on the wonderful graphics that we have got here, the wonderful SDK graphics here in Slow Motion Broadcasting. You can see the gaps throughout the rest of the field, and there you can see it at the present moment. That's how it looks for all of the racers or graphics that we showed before, where the gaps just between one car or the other. I wonder if it is at all possible as Phil Berry has made the call to come down pit lane. Yeah, Phil Berry already being one of the first racers to make the call to come down pit lane. The pit stops are a necessity for these racers to make it to the very end, and that is always a big factor in these races. Do wonder, though, if it is possible to jump on board with our P14 runner, Mr. Joshua Wilkie. We saw him involved in a little bit of drama a bit earlier on in this race, but he's running all over the back of your current Masters P4 racer in the Masters class of Tom Gradwell, running P13 overall. Mr. Joshua Wilkie, the man who's the owner of Slow Motion Broadcasting. And when I got started around about the same time when I came to broadcasting, we started off back in the spring of 2023. Him and I now run Slow Motion Broadcasting together. He's a wonderful man. He's a great man. I've seen him get married. I've seen him grow as a producer and a man, and it has been awesome to see him also grow his skills as a racer. He was a Spec 2 champion a couple of years ago in the Weekend Warriors world, a couple of seasons ago, I should say, and running pretty all right there at the present moment. He also requested us if we could ride on board with him for a few moments, and perfect time to jump to that as we see him going side by side with Tom Gradwell, another very talented racer in the Weekend Warriors world. And even with that damage on the front end of Wilkie's car, he's going to be able to jump his way up in a P13 as they head their way now into the braking zone of 10. Yeah,
good run by Josh. He's up a couple positions since the start of the race, even with the damage. We have Joao Tavino coming into the pits for a pit stop, so a couple early takers on the pits. So we'll get to see how that helps him out as Joao, coming from the top 10, is going to go ahead and get out of line and say, I need some clean air. I need a little bit of rest for a second. And so he'll work his way back up through the field, and we'll see if working from the back and just kind of drafting up actually picks his lap times up, and see if they can pick up a couple spots on the undercut.
So already we're having to think about the strategy content. That's one thing I adore about the Weekend Warriors, the FF 1600 Weekend Warriors and the Spec Racer Fords that both run on Sundays, every single Sunday on slow motion broadcasting at 1:45 Eastern in the case of the FFs and 3:45 Eastern in case of the Spec Racer Fords promo. You can always see them having to worry about some pit stops in those 40-minute long races. The Formula Vs, meanwhile, that run on Saturdays, they don't have to worry about that. It's 30 minutes of racing action. They can just run flat out throughout most of those races and just be the first to come across that line. Here in these races, though, there's a lot more for these racers to try and juggle. Not only do they have to go side by side and battle and claw for any single spot that they can get, as Soto and Halliburton have been doing for quite some time in this race, they also have to worry about that strategy, because it is always such a vital factor in doing well here in a series as competitive as this, with razor thin margins. Frankly, you gotta master that pit call, and we've seen many a racer, both veteran and rookie, be able to either make mistakes on those pit calls or just master the strategy and come out of it all smelling like a bed of roses.
Yeah, absolutely. We've seen that time and again as we see Matt Thompson coming into the pits. I will say, normally we would be looking to Stevie Ray, the guy that kind of runs the place and keeps everybody in line, as their first pitter. And he did come into the pits on lap 10, so a lap before Tabino. So we can officially say the pit window is now open. So all the cars that are out there can safely get home on their pit stop and with the fuel they can get, as Thompson is dropping down the order as cars work by. So we'll see again how the undercut is going to work for a few of these drivers, as we are continuing on here watching Kane Halliburton with that battle. I think the top 8 did a really good job. They're not really fighting hard. They're working their way down. If they can make a move and get a position, they're doing it before the corner. So that way they're not fighting side by side through the corners. That would invite more cars from behind. So pretty smart on the guys in front to basically just stay nose to tail and not really push the issue yet with 20 minutes left to go.
Yeah, so a long amount of racing action left at play for these competitors. You got to worry about those pit stops. You got to worry about keeping it clean out there on the racetrack too. Do want to touch on our current class leaders. Jörg Mani, your top running racer in the Masters category. Eric Luke, your overall leader, of course, winning in Spec 1 as it stands currently. Spec 2, meanwhile, is led by Thomas Renders, who holds on to a 2.8 second gap between himself and Mr. Joshua Wilkie. So the battling very much going to be on between those competitors, as Jeff Jacobson slotted in P16 at the time of his stop. He has come in the 240 car, and Yanxi Lin, a driver who I'm a little bit surprised we haven't talked about thus far on this broadcast, sets a fast lap of the race.
Yeah, Yanxi, we've talked about him so much. He's been not quite as active in the Weekend Warrior Series, but I think a couple, maybe last year or the year before, basically swept the SCCA V runoffs for iRacing. Just a fantastic driver of these cars, and a little far down the order, running in 15th. So I'm wondering if now up to 14th, just passing Nunez. So I'm wondering if he got caught up in that and maybe slowed his progress down a little bit. So it's going to be difficult. He might have to try a little fuel strategy on his pit stop in order to make up some time to get up closer to the front of the field.
So we'll have to see what these racers are going to do between now and the end. Jim Brewster and Brad Cathcart involved in the battle for the final spot inside the top 20. Brewster got to sweep around the outside of turn number 6 and 7 to get that move done. Jim, another racer that we talk about a lot here in the Weekend Warriors. And do want to mention, as we are around about the halfway mark of this race, want to thank Paul Gooden and Sim Stickers for supplying trophies for these competitors and the respective class winners at the end of this 10th anniversary special race in the Spec Racer for the Weekend Warriors. I want to thank all of you tuning into this broadcast today on the iRacing Esports Network. Doing raise this is the all-time mention, so I hope she appreciates it. Hi, Tam, in the YouTube chat. That's actually Jim Brewster's sister down there in Argentina.
Absolutely. Hello to Tam, who's in the chat every time Jim's on the track, and sometimes when he's not, she's always out there. I want to say our biggest fan, but I think she's Jim's biggest fan for sure. So it's always good, but it's always great to talk with Tam and to see her out there supporting the racing.
And someone who wasn't the biggest fan of Jim Brewster as those two were battling, and that was Brad Cathcart 1 lap ago. He's come into the pits, and he is still stopped there. So something may have gone on with Brad Cathcart and that pit stop. Do occasionally see these racers have an extended run down pit lane. Now here in this race, even though we have raced in temperatures as hot as 150 degrees, I think one time it was a race at Winton a couple of seasons ago when the track temperatures were just absolutely scorching. These tires are rather tough on these spec racer Fords, so they don't have to worry about swapping tires in the pit stops. They just have to worry about topping up with fuel as we look now. That's Alaise Pleva battling with your current lap down competitor of Jason Grider. That's now a swaparoo of spots. Pleva effectively running in no man's land as it stands currently, as you look at Kurt Nunes and Nathaniel Schramm all a little bit farther away from Pleva right now. Probably one of only a few racers in the entirety of this field that's running by themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's kind of the, part of it is when you do have those incidents where you'll see cars sliding and maybe some collisions and stuff. It kind of makes a natural break in these big packs, and that's they're very difficult to recover. Once you get a gap, it's going to take some fighting in front in order to allow these cars to get on. That's what Jason Green is hoping for. 3.5 seconds behind Josh Justice, running in P9. Is he's hoping these guys up front start getting a little racy and start jockeying for position. It's going to slow all those cars down. It's going to allow Jason and the likes of Bradshaw and Renders and Wilkie to start making up time.
If they can try and maximize their run in the final 15 and a half minutes into this race, then they can really come out of it smelling well, as Dirk Braun, Chris Thorpe, Andre Favini, and Paolo Brema, and many other racers making a call to come down pit lane. Paul Gooden and with Sim Stickers has come into the pits too. Very, very competitive stuff all throughout this field. This pack up at the front. This is the quintessential spec racer for the Weekend Warriors pack. Many different talented racers with many different agendas and many different looking race cars running up at the front and basically being inseparable, even with their call to come down pit lane. The only breakaway being Kane Halliburton. Everybody else, though, you can see Flavio Andolo, as per usual. He's staying out. Josh Justice, a real-life spec racer Ford driver with the STCA, stays out as well. But Eric Luke, Joshua Soto, David Gaspers, a Weekend Warriors veteran, Jörg Monty, Antonio Reese, Jason Green, Adam Bradshaw, and Tom Gradwell all coming into the pits on this lap, with more likely to follow.
Yeah, that's interesting. They all came down, and there's probably another couple of laps before they have to pit for fuel. So interesting strategy by those cars, as we see Josh Justice hanging on to the back of Andolo there. So he's within draft range, so he might be able to pick up a little bit of time on Andolo. That'll help him out, and we see Halliburton with a nice gap over Andolo of 1.3. So it's interesting to see if these guys will be able to close up the gaps a little bit, or if Halliburton's going to be able to extend just based on his pace.
There's a black flag in the air for Paul Jackson. The pit stops, so important for a number of reasons, but picking up some black flags can really sting. We saw it a little bit earlier on this afternoon with the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors, and seeing it there from Jackson, very unfortunate stuff for him. A Weekend Warriors veteran racer who, in my first ever time covering the Weekend Warriors runoffs in week 13, actually rang in that event with, I think he somehow pulled off a front flip in a spec racer Ford after running off the track out of one at Daytona. But he's a very good racer, has multiple wins in the years that he's been racing here. Unfortunate black flag for him that will send him back a little bit, as Josh Justice has come into the pits in the number 99 machine.
Yeah, I'm just kind of watching as I'm watching Jackson's time. It looks like it was either I think it's going to be speeding on pit entry. So it looks like his time is just ticking up, and looks like it's going to be about 40 seconds more than everybody else, which is your penalty. And we'll see, he should be popping out of the pits. There he is. Yep, 57.1. So that definitely looks like speeding on pit entry. So we have a few more cars that are coming in. Justice, Renders, Wilkie, Pleva, Yangshi Lin, all coming in. I think that leaves the top two of Halliburton and Andolo, and then a little further down the order, Michelle Lynn running in 17th. She has yet to come in as well, so she'll be coming in for her pit stop very soon also.
And I will mention this very quickly, talking about my my fellow Philadelphians in the Weekend Warriors world. As a proud son of the city, it's nice to see my fellow Philadelphians out there on the racetrack. That being Michelle Lynn and Krisha Kapanka, who's not joining us here in this event, but Michelle Lynn, a admin of the Formula V Weekend Warriors League and very top running racer there, making her appearance. Very rarely does she appear in the spec racer for, but whenever she does, it's always nice to see that 215 car out there on the racetrack. Philly represent. She's down the pits at the moment, going to exit out in P29, right in front of Dirk Braun. Actually, Dirk Braun going to jump in front of Michelle Lynn. Dirk, another good racer here in the series, was one of the sponsors that brought last season's action to life with the broadcast, and was also a champion in the Spec 2 category for last season. Good to see Dirk Braun continue on his form here in this season as he makes that leap up into Spec 1. Flavio Andolo has made the call to come into the pits. Interestingly enough, though, Kane Halliburton has not. He is still out there on the racetrack, probably clutching at straws. Now, I gotta say, though, Josh, thinking about Kane Halliburton's race, how long did he spend behind the likes of Soto, and you're at one point race leader of everybody in front of him? He's been getting some good fuel numbers up to this point here today, hasn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll answer for Josh since he's not in here. So yeah, he's got some good fuel numbers. He was doing a lot of draft. Oh, is with the 50 car off. That's Tabino. Saw a little contact there from behind and sent him off. And there goes the rest of the field around. He's able to safely rejoin, but he's going to drop back down to P8 behind Antonio Reese. So yeah, Halliburton did a lot of. It wasn't in the lead very much, so he's probably saved himself quite a his pit stop that much shorter. We just say the fastest pit stops, as I'm looking down the order, 12.8 for Angelo, 12.5 for Josh Soto. Seemed to be the fastest ones. Most of the drivers were between 13 and 16 seconds for their stop time. So Halliburton's got his work cut out for him. He's going to come in and going to try and make a sub 12 stop to stay in the lead.
And I do want to apologize to Eric Luke. I completely blanked on the fact that he was your race leader in the earlier stages, but on that pit cycle, he's really gotten shown the doors there. 3 wide right in front of him. That's Josh Soto, David Gaspers, and Flavio Andolo all duking it out for what is essentially the net race lead, depending on how things work out for Kane Halliburton, who's going to come at the benefit. Give it to Gaspers. Andolo going to drop down like a stone thrown into a pond. He's going to fall all the way down behind your top two in the Masters category of Jörg Mani and Antonio Reese. He's down 7th currently with Joao Tabino about a second back. Right in front of Josh Justice. Do want to raise another point about Josh Justice. Not only is he a Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors driver, not only is he a Spec Racer Ford racer in real life, he does all of that while being deaf. That is one thing that I love about the Weekend Warriors. It doesn't matter what background anybody has. It doesn't matter who you are. You can show up here in the Weekend Warriors, run some good races. And as long as you're respectful of your competitors, you can stay for many, many moons to come.
Absolutely. And Josh is a fantastic racer. It's always fun to watch him race, and it's great to interview him as well. Does get a little assistance on his end for the questions, but he loves giving answers, and he loves talking about his race as how it goes. And it's always fun to talk with him when we get a chance to have him in the booth. As we see a little more blinking there, I think that was Jörg Mani that was blinking a little bit, who's leading in the Masters class just ahead of Antonio Reese. And I think the people who are enjoying seeing this battling up front is Joao Tabino, because that's bringing him closer back to this pack. And we have Halliburton in the pits now for his stop.
Kane Halliburton coming down pit lane. He enters the pits with a 35-plus second gap between himself and David Gaspers. We'll have to see how quickly that gap can disappear as Eric Luke looking to jump on Soto and also jump in front of David Gaspers. A game of Spec Racer Ford leapfrog getting played out with these racers because they know these are important moments for this race. With your race leader coming down pit lane and all of these racers having already made their stops, who's going to come out and smell like a rose, and all this is decided by now. Let's look at David Gaspers getting that move done with a nice run under the bridge, out of the turn 10 chicane, across that line to jump in front of Eric Luke. But Kane Halliburton, he comes out of the pits with a comfortable gap over everybody else. That fuel saving in the earlier stages allowed him to have such shorter run down pit lane compared to everybody else. You look at the time in the pits and you look at the time in the pit stall. Kane Halliburton spent 11.25, 11 and a quarter seconds down in the pits. You compare that to David Gasper's a tick over 14 seconds. Eric Luke nearly 16 seconds at 15.6. And in terms of the time down pit lane, just comparing Halliburton and Gasper's, 42.95 seconds down through the entirety of pit lane in the case of Kane Halliburton. David Gasper's, meanwhile, 47.17 seconds. That's a huge swing. Halliburton mastering the strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Had a great run down the pits and just absolutely nailed it. The closest one I saw to him was Jordan Monty, and it was only 200 a second behind Halliburton. So Monty, not necessarily known for having great pit stops. He always seems to do a little tentative on the fuel. Always takes a little more than everybody else, but he definitely made up for it on the pit lane and was able to make it a very short stop. And that was one of the things that brought him up toward the front. Is now he's getting passed by Tabino for 5th place, and so there's going to be a battle here. These battles are not over with about 6.5 minutes left in this race. They're just getting started.
Yeah, we have still got ourselves some battles to talk about between now and the end of this Spec Racer Forward Weekend Warriors 10th anniversary special. Gasper's looking to get the move done on Eric Luke as they had their way down into turn number 1, and he's going to book himself through into a nice old ticket into second. Gasper's now into P2. Eric Luke running right behind. Look at Josh Soto. He's always such an aggressive racer in these events. Is one thing to raise about Josh Soto. It's a blessing and a curse for him, but more often than not, we love to talk about the just driving talent that Josh Soto has behind the wheel of any race car that he put him in. He's quick. Sometimes he's a very talented racer. He's got that raw talent. It may be rough around the edges talent at certain points in time. He may drop out with falling anvils coming down on his head sometimes, but he is still a top running racer in the Weekend Warriors world, top running racer on iRacing, period. And he's got to look to try and give us a bit of spice as we get to the end of this race.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. As you see the top 3, and there's a little bit of a gap back to Josh Soto running in. I'm sorry, behind Soto. Jordan Monty running in 5th. So the top 2nd through 4th, Halliburton has kind of checked out. He's got about a 7-second lead over these cars, and that's probably going to keep growing. Obviously, he doesn't have anybody up there battling with. These guys are going to keep battling side by side through some of these corners. That's just going to slow them down. So it's Halliburton's. As long as he doesn't make a mistake, I think he's in good shape.
Yeah, if he can run it smooth between now and the end, he's going to come out of this race with the W. So Kane Halliburton looking to try and win it now, 6.9 seconds. Nice, the gap between himself and Eric Luke. See, even on the iRacing shows, I have to make a crack like that. That is a contractual obligation more than anything else. Joao Tabino and Antonio Reese were battling down into turn number 1. Tabino went for the move. It stuck very briefly as that's Soto going off the track. A moment for him heading down there, and he's got to pick up a slowdown in the midst of that as well. The yellow indicator, that yellow flag next to these racers' names, means that they've picked up a slowdown. The black flag, meanwhile, that kind of goes without saying. Hugh Simpkins and Michelle Lynn both picking up a black flag in the past few moments of this race. Soto dropping down like an anvil pushed out of a helicopter, now down into P7. A moment like that, down into turn number 2, 3, and 4. We saw very early on in this race, Charles, how tough of a section that is, and unfortunately there for Josh Soto, really proving our point as, that could have been a disaster and a crash for Antonio Reese. A slide out of the turn. He keeps it out of the wall, but doesn't keep it in the top 5.
Nope, he's dropped down. He's going to fall back down to P9 and lose the draft to the cars in front. So he's obviously desperately hoping these guys start battling again and start fighting some of the corners, and that's going to allow him to maybe make up enough time to get back into the back of this pack and maybe pick up a few positions before they end this. Obviously, I've seen some strange things happen here at Road Atlanta with the Weekend Warrior Series. I've seen 7 Formula 4 cars go into turn 10A, and only one of them make it out of 10B. The rest were all just kind of wadded up as just fighting going on. Chicane and everybody getting worse except for one car who went on to win the race. So you just never can tell with this. And obviously Halliburton is going to have some lap traffic he'll probably have to deal with. So he's not out of the woods yet, but he is in a pretty safe zone to be fair.
Yeah, I think finding comfort at the end of a Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors race, a rather rare occurrence. You can't really do that more often than not. These racers are usually, what's the word I'm looking for? Terrified at the end of some of these races. Not even for like an incident to take place. They're just terrified that they are going to have to try and push their car and push themselves to the absolute limit of control to remain in whatever spot they are. It's one of the things that I love about covering the Weekend Warriors. You can never say it's over until it's over, can ya?
That's it. No, it's not till you get to the not till you cross the stripe at the end of the race. And we've seen once again battles that are separated by milliseconds here. It's the end of some of these races, so wouldn't surprise me that the battle for this second position on the podium ends up being one of those where it's measured in inches and not feet.
Yeah, we have seen so many photo finishes in the Weekend Warriors world. One great thing about the Weekend Warriors, two of the strongest drafting cars on the iRacing platform, the FV and the SRF, they have their own league here in the Weekend Warriors, so we have got ourselves a whole lot of photo finishes to talk about every single season. As I swap-a-roo with Eric Luke and David Gaspers down into turn number 1. Luke gets the move done to be able to jump his way up into that spot. We'll say we're getting to the end of this race with a white flag coming out next time by for Kane Halliburton. He currently heading his way off into to turn number 6 and 7 in just a couple of moments' time. He holds on now to a 7.9 second gap, nearly 8 seconds of difference now it is, right as I say it, between Halliburton and Eric Luke. And Kane Halliburton, he doesn't show up a lot in the Weekend Warriors, but if he showed up every single season and qualified, because sometimes he usually starts at the back just to try and see how many spots he can gain in a race, I think if Kane Halliburton went for it, he could very well walk away with a Weekend Warriors championship.
Oh yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, I think Kane can walk into most series and vie for a championship if he wanted to. But it's good to see him out here, even if he's not really competing for a championship. He's always out here competing for a win, and he always does a really good job. Very quick racing driver, as we mentioned. We got the battle here. Gasper's moving to the inside, coming into 10A. Going to get the white flag this time by, as he's going to be sitting there in P2 with Eric Luke, George Monty, and Joao Tabino in close proximity.
As Kane Halliburton tries to complete off a brilliant race here at Road Atlanta here for the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors 10th Anniversary Special Edition event. We have still got ourselves a titanic battle to sort out the rest of the top 5, the rest of the podium as well, and frankly, a decent chunk of the top 10, as the only 2 racers inside the top 10 that are not involved in this battle that are behind these racers are Antonio Reese after that slide a little bit earlier on, and Jason Green. We like to call him the Professor here in the Weekend Warriors, one of the co-hosts of the Racing Line podcast, hosted by Stevie Ray, series admin, and all around very, very nice guy. Top running racer in this series. We call him the Professor because sometimes he can master that strategy and put together the numbers even though he's running out there at a full song on the racetrack. But we have got ourselves a titanic battle to take a look at as they head their way off to the bottom end of the circuit, the bottom end of the bone that makes up the chicken wing that is this racetrack. Here they are at a 7 onto that back straightaway. David Gaspers gonna be the one punching that hole in the air, but Eric Luke and Yurik Mani gonna have such a strong amount of speed, such a strong head of steam that they're gonna be able to blow his doors off. First comes Luke, he's gonna be the first to pass, but then here comes Yurik Mani, a little bit boxed in there. He's gonna go off into the grass there. Look at that, making a 3, nearly 4 wide as they head their way down the back straightaway off into the turn 10 chicane for the final time. Luke last of the breakers down in the turn. Monty sweeping on the outside, gotta switch to the inside as Kane Halliburton gets the job done to win this race here today. There's a black flag in the air for Josh Toto. A photo finish right at the line between David Gaspers and Eric Luke, touching multiple times down at the back end of the circuit. Monty walks away with P2 as a Masters racer. Gaspers runs at your podium in 3rd. Eric Luke, though, gave it the old college try at the end of this race. All of them put on a great show as we see more and more racers coming across the line. A photo finish. Maybe, Elias Pleva and Thomas Renders coming up lows as they headed their way down the hill across the line. Pleva so walks away with a P11. He probably won't even remember most of this race, so how hard he hit the fence. Kurt Nunez also running into some difficulties right at the very end. Dirk Braun and Colin Earl and Joao Tabino all involved in a battle a little bit farther behind. Tabino dropping back. I think he may be out of gas. That or he's spun. Something is going on with Joao Tabino as he crawls across the line. He's going to finish well farther in the back. Maybe going to drop outside the top 30 3, in fact, at the very end of this race. There he is. He's up against the fence, and I don't think that was a collision. I think he's out of fuel.
Yep. I think you're right. I think we have a Thompson Trophy winner for today. As did not make it on the last lap there, just did not have enough fuel. And yeah, the car looked clean, so I did not see any issues that would prevent him from getting across as far as damage.
You know, I was going to say that I think that's the first time the Thompson Trophy has been mentioned on a broadcast on the iRacing Esports Network. Then I remember that I airdropped that in the midst of the Spot 24 show a little bit earlier on this year. See, I was going to say a little bit earlier on this summer, but we're now officially into the fall here, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. So, well done. The leaves are turning brown for us up in the north. But yeah, if anyone tuning into the show isn't aware of the Thompson Trophy, it's our old pal and the founder of Slow Motion Broadcasting, Mr. Adam Thompson, who ran out of fuel in his Formula V Weekend Warriors debut, and he has never been able to let it down. Which, you know, I love the man, but that is going to be a joke that I keep with for as long as I'm doing these Weekend Warriors shows, and even well after that, for that matter. But as we see these racers through the Weekend Warriors tradition of burning it down after a clean day of racing action, these racers usually like to blow off a little bit of steam by turning their cars into a nice metal paste at the end of it all. We'll take a look at the race results, let you know that Kane Halliburton is your winner here in the Weekend Warriors 10th anniversary special. Jörg Mani is going to finish this race in P2. David Gaspers will round out your podium in third. Gotta say, well done to Jörg Mani. Proved what I said a little bit earlier on, that even though those Masters racers sometimes may just be seen as the old guys, they can still wheel a race car. Mani can do it rather well. We call him the janitor after his performance a couple of seasons ago, just cleaning up in the Weekend Warriors, and he's still on form with a P2 here today. David Gasper is going to walk away with a podium in third. As I said, Eric Luke finishes in fourth overall. Josh Justice is classed in P5. Antonio Reese in sixth. Jason Green will finish this race in seventh. Flavio Angelo is classed in P8. Yanchi Lin will finish this race in ninth. Elise Pleva will round at your top 10. It's Thomas Renders classed in P11. Nathaniel Schramm in P12. Tom Gradwell is classed in P13. Joshua Wilkie, SMB's very own, classed in 14th. Phil Berry in 15th. Matt Thompson in 16th. Adam Bradshaw is classed in P17 at the end of this race, running from Jeff Jacobson. And looking through, rounding out your first half of the field, your top 24, shall we say, if it's ever broken up in a situation like that. We could just get a little bit of WD-40 on the graphics to scroll them down a little bit. We'll let you know that the P19 finisher at the end of this race is going to be Chris Murakami there. No one, it's going to be Josh Soto. See, I went off the live timing tower, and that's one time that I do, and it proves me wrong. It's going to be Soto. After that black flag, he drops down to P19, despite the fact that he crossed the line all the way up in P5. So that's how it worked out for him. Instead, it was Justice walking away with P5. But it's going to be Chris Murakami, class in P19 at the end of this race. In P19, it will be Chris Murakami. P20 is going to... No, I said it was Murakami in 19th. That's Soto in 19th, Murakami in 20th. There we go. 15th time's a charm. Daniel Wood is in 21st. Andrew Love in 22nd. Dirk Braun in 23rd. Colin Earl will round out your first half of the field.
Yeah, Jim Brewster finishes in 25th. Andrea Favini finishes in 26th. The ringleader, Stevie Ray, finishes in 27th. Chris Thorpe, 28th. Edgar Sancinelli finishes in 29th. Paulo Brema finishing in 30th. Jeff Wupker finishing 31st. Joao Tabino in 32nd. Kurt Nunez in 33rd. Brad Cathcart finishes in 34th. Hugh Simpkins finishes in 35th. Ian Gibson finishes in P36. Paul Jackson in 37th. Jason Grider, JG1 finishing in 38th. Michelle Lynn finishing in P39. Paul Godden finishes in P40. Marcus Burkett, P41. Josh Flores, P42. Brian Belansky finishes in 43rd. Travis Trussell finishing in 44th. Scott Russell finishing in 45th. Ian Joyner with a very, I was expecting Ian to be up near the front, but finishes in 46th. Stephen Elson finishing in 47th. And Kevin Adrian did not take the start, will be classified 48th.
And so those are your results at the end of the Spec Racer Ford Weekend Warriors 10th anniversary special here on the iRacing Esports Network. To all of you tuning into the show, thank you all so much for deciding that we should be a part of your day here on this Sunday afternoon or evening or wherever it is for you all around the globe. But hey, Charles, we got some drivers looking to have a chat with us, and I'm trying to think of how exactly we should go about all this. I don't see Kane Halliburton up there in the broadcast booth, but I do see Jörg Monty looking to have a chat with us. Monty was actually the first Weekend Warriors driver that I had the opportunity to interview. It was at this very same racetrack for round number 1 of season 2 of 2023, and I'll have a chat with him here at the end of this race. Jörg Monty joining us here in the broadcast booth. Jörg, welcome in. P2 for you at the end of this race. How was it out there, man? That looked fun.
It was a great blast today. It was more fun than the Formula Ford race, actually. No, I had really fun today. And I was trying the first time something I never do. I've tried to fuel save, but I'm too stupid for that. I can't do it. I still had less fuel than everybody else ahead of me. And maybe I have to get to know that sometimes. But it was really fun. It was really fun. And the move on the last lap was quite risky. So, but I did it, and I beat the 10K guy. That's my most focus today.
You got up in front of him. That's what matters. You walk away with a P2 overall in this race as well. The 10-year anniversary of the Weekend Warriors. I want to ask you to kind of recount your own Weekend Warriors tale from your first race all the way through to some of your favorite memories up to now, where we're celebrating 10 years of this wonderful community.
Oh, gosh. I mean, I'm not 10 years in the community, but I really love it. Stevie is absolutely fantastic. He makes a fantastic job. I mean, I'm in iRacing since 13 years now. And yeah, my memories are quite vary, I would say. Some of the memories are quite good. Some of the memories are just rubbish. But I still gonna continue racing. I'm not racing that much anymore at the moment because I still simply have way too much to do at the moment, job-wise. But one day I get retired, and I definitely gonna do some more again. And but for the moment, I'm having fun. That's all I want, and I'm not looking for championship at all. I just want to race. That's it. But my memories are on really the positive side so far, and I congrats Stevie again for his 10 years anniversary, and I hope there are 10 years more coming.
And I'm certainly keeping my fingers crossed that this is just the beginning of the Weekend Warriors. A lot of history already in our rearview mirror, but so much to look forward to. Jörg, we'll give you the floor and let you give any thanks or shout-outs, though, before we let you go and celebrate this Masters win in the special event and a P2 as well.
To all the guys, to all the drivers, they're just continuously playing tough but fair, most of them I would say, and I really like the guys. I have so much fun to drive with them. Not with everybody as usual, but with most of it I do. That's what keeps me up racing.
Hey, we all have our moments, Jörg. I'm sure if I was out there on the racetrack, people would hate me a heck of a lot more. So I'm sure if I was out there on the racetrack, I would make a fool of myself. So I'll stay here behind the microphone, because I think if I was behind the wheel, I'd probably get on some racers' bad sides. But Jörg, thank you for joining us here in the booth. Congratulations on the P2. Cheers to the future here in the Weekend Warriors.
Thanks a lot, guys, and have a good one.
And you as well. That right there was Jörg Monty, our P2 finisher here in this race. And Charles, who do you want to have a chat with?
Well, let's bring in David Gaspers, who finished third in today's race and P2 in the Spec 1 class. We'll bring David in here. David, congratulations. Final step on the podium. We started the Weekend Warriors here at Road Atlanta, and so our 10th anniversary race is here. And so how did your race go? I saw it was a pretty good battling up at the front of that field for most of that race.
If you want to call it battling, yeah. I mean, until the pit stop, no one really pushed, I think. We were just, for reference, as soon as the downhill of straight part started, I was on the clutch.
So
that's how much fuel saving we were.
That's part of the race.
Yeah, we were just fuel saving until the pit stop. I have no idea how Kane managed to fuel save that much, because after the pit stop he was suddenly 6 seconds ahead of me. And yeah, no idea what he did, but I usually don't really like field saving races. I just, if I was going to lead, everyone would have done that behind me. So not much point in doing the leading.
So you've been involved with the Weekend Warrior since it's 2017. It says on our sheet. So can you talk about the kind of the changes from then to now with iRacing and with the series, and anything else you want to mention? Any good memories that you've had here?
Yeah, I mean, I've been driving for almost 8 years now. So there's a lot of memories and a lot of races. Like back when it started, we didn't have a broadcast yet. Then I think it was 17 season 4 or something about that started. Like every second race we got a broadcast. At some point we added the pit stops then, which I actually was never really a big fan of, but I think most people like it more with pit stops. And yeah, just a lot of races, a lot of people that I got to race against over the years, and it's nice that Stevie and some others put in the effort to organize all that.
Absolutely. I know us up here in the booth, we're big fans of this series and enjoy coming in and being a part of it in a small way. Obviously, we're not out there hustling the car around the track and trying to fuel save for some of these. But David, we'll give you a chance to give any thanks or shout outs, and we'll let you go and celebrate your podium.
Yeah, as I said, a big thanks to Stevie. He's now making these races happen for 10 years. That's a really long time, like a third of my life already he's doing these races. And also a big thanks to all the sponsors for the broadcast over the years and all the different broadcasters, whoever they were. It's a lot of people that made it happen over all these years.
Absolutely. David, thank you very much for stopping in the booth, and we'll see you the next time you're on the track.
Yeah.
And that right there was David Gaspers, our very venerated racer here in this series, a 10K iRating driver that Jörg was talking about in his interview, and walking away from this race with a podium as well. Do have the opportunity to have a chat with our Spec 2 winner at the end of this race. Thomas Renders now joining us here in the commentary booth. Thomas, welcome in. It's P12 for you at the end of this race, I believe, walking away with a Spec 2 win as well. How was it out there here at Road Atlanta?
It was a really tough race, and I think walking away is the right words for that. Yes. Oh, what a bad finish of mine. Again, sorry, Alice Clever. That's first up front to say that. I don't know if you've seen it, but yeah, he ran out of fuel, and I thought I'm going into the inside, and yeah, he was going to the inside as well, and then it was too late. So it was a really rookie mistake that. But besides that, I think I did a good race, and yeah, I really enjoyed it because it's a tough track and survival is key here.
Yeah, survival is certainly important. I gotta say, though, it has been an absolutely fantastic event to be a part of here in the broadcast booth. You were out there behind the wheel and recently started running with us here in the Weekend Warriors world. Got back with it with I believe you showed up a couple of times during the last season, but I want to ask you here in this interview some of your favorite Weekend Warriors memories and what it means to you to be a Weekend Warrior.
My favorite is probably in the first season I drove, about 2021, I guess. We had a race at Lime Rock Park, and I got hit and got damaged, but I ended up beached up on the pit wall, so it was a really fun moment. But yeah, the league is just amazing. It's always fair racing, and if something goes wrong, you talk about it, you apologize, and yeah, it's just a good camaraderie, and it's good fun and respectful racing. It's just, yeah, that's what Weekend Warriors are. Well, all three of the series.
I gotta say, from my perspective, being in the commentary booth for as long as I have, and I think I could speak for my colleagues as well, it's an absolute honor covering this series because you drivers out there on the racetrack put on the good racing, and you do it respectfully as well. Thomas, thank you for joining us here in the booth, and we'll give you the floor to give any thanks of your own before we let you go.
And it's got to be Stevie Ray. He's organizing and all these series for already 10 years, where it goes to time. Yeah, it's just him who gathered all the people, and yeah, and the other shout out should be the community, because it's just a tremendous community to be in.
Yeah, I gotta say, the Weekend Warriors community, probably one of the strongest on the iRacing platform. Happy to be a part of it, and happy to see you out there on the racetrack, Thomas. Well done on the Spec 2 win, and looking forward to seeing you out there for the rest of the season here in the SRF Weekend Warriors.
Thanks. Have a good night.
Hey, you as well. That right there was Thomas Renders, our Spec 2 winner. And Charles, I will give you the distinct honor and privilege to have a chat with series admin and all-around very, very nice guy, Mr. Stevie Ray.
Well, let's bring Stevie Ray in. We won't. I won't hog it. Stevie, great race today. Obviously, hey, you had a good run, up 6 positions, finishing in P27. So nice job out of you. But I did not mention this on screen during the broadcast, but I love what you did with your paint scheme. You've added it seemingly every possible sponsor that we've had over the past few years onto your paint. I love it. It's absolutely a big thanks to the people who really made this possible. We talk about you kind of running the organization, but really it's the drivers and the sponsors who really keep this thing going week in and week out. And I know you feel the same way.
Yeah, 100%, Charles. Thanks for that. Yeah, I got a lot of the sponsors on it, but there's some more that obviously I couldn't get. But yeah, we couldn't do it without the sponsors making the broadcast possible, season in and season out, and the members on track themselves. I keep saying it, I keep preaching it, but one guy doesn't make the league. One guy doesn't give the league the reputation it has. It takes everybody, and man, you can't ask for a better group of people. And to think 10 years has gone, and it's like, wow, we've got some of the core guys there still. I mean, Adam Bradshaw's been around since the beginning. Antonio Reese, Chris Murakami were all there. Jason Perry was there in race 2, I think. So some have found a home and stayed. Some have gone and come back. You can't say enough about this people and this community.
Oh, absolutely. And I was looking through the list as all the names that have been here since the first year, and I think you've named every one of them. So it's just and then we've got some others that started the second year and may have not been here but came back. But yeah, it's just a great group. I always say how much I enjoy being just a small part of this with just doing the broadcast. And we talked about it during the broadcast. I started in January of 2023. I think Ron started in March of 2023. We both partnered up with Tim Cox, who did it quite a long time before I did, and was a great force in my broadcasting career. But if I wouldn't have found the Weekend Warriors, I don't know that I'd still be doing this. To be fair, I just really love this group of people, this group of drivers, and of course you and your admin staff. That I could probably name: Jason and Michelle and Jim Brewster.
Yeah,
I forget Jim. And but just a great group of staff that you've got working with you as well, and you've got a lot to be proud of. And I'm very happy to have been a part of this 10th anniversary race.
No, thanks, Charles, and it's great to have you guys on. You tell our story so well and make it fun and exciting, and everybody just really enjoys tuning in because of what you guys do telling our story. So yeah, can't thank you and Ron and Guido and Joshua and all the SMB crew enough that really pulled us together and took us when we needed somebody and just took it to the next level. So awesome. I mean, I'm not embarrassed about it. I mean, going back, we had different broadcasts. We start off with GSRC, and Mr. Sean Ambrose from iRacing did the producing there and has been a good friend since then. And those guys did us really good, and Apex for a while, and I think we brought some of you guys over, but it's been a great marriage with SMB and going forward. Just, I can't thank you guys enough. I'm really looking forward to being retired next spring or summer and spending some more time and having more time to do this without feeling a little bit of burnout, I'll admit. But yeah, it's been a great 10 years. I can't believe it.
Yeah, so looking forward, is there anything we expect to see maybe a little different, or are we going to stay with what, if it ain't broke, don't fix it?
Well, we're still tweaking a little bit. We tweaked it's called a driver performance number to help with the classification a little bit, taking their average start position, average finish position, a percentage, and all this stuff, and put it in a spreadsheet, get a number. Because a lot of guys don't do a lot of official races, and their iRating may be way different from what their pace is. And we've been wanting to get something for the league that helps classify our guys, more accurately in what spec 1 or 2. So that's still in work and being tweaked a little bit, but I think we're pretty much got away from the iRating for the league classification. But other than that, I don't know of a lot of changes coming down the road. So we'll see. I'm open. The guys know, the league members, give me feedback. If there's something we need to do, it's their league. And if that's the majority, if they want to do it, then we'll throw it up and see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll throw it over to Ron if he's got anything he wants to say or a question he's want to ask.
Yeah, I don't really think I have any questions. Most of the questionable things that come out of my mouth are the stuff that I don't even phrase as a question. But Stevie, I just wanted to come in and personally thank you for all the hard work. I try and show off the appreciation season after season, but I don't think I would be where I am in life, both broadcasting wise and just as the person that I am now, if it wasn't for getting on these Weekend Warrior shows and being a part of this community. I've done some shows on the iRacing channel before of special events. I remember doing the Chili Bowl show back last December, and the YouTube chat there was full of many of the same racers you saw out there on the racetrack. I think you were in there in the chat as well. Michelle Lynn, Jason Grider, many more, and just
it's a great community that follows everybody.
Oh, it's an absolutely tremendous community full of top talent and top people as well. It's one thing to have a great batch of amazing racers, but to have a great pool of amazing people as well in this league is just absolutely awesome. It's always been an honor, Stevie. I just want to thank you personally.
Well, thanks for the kind words, Ron. It's pretty awesome that when we race our pretend cars in the pretend league and stuff, that it affects lives like it does, but it does and makes friends worldwide. I would love to do some traveling to England and Portugal and other places, and I know I got friends there to meet sometimes. So, and we've met a few at the SCCA runoffs and stuff. So it's an awesome worldwide community.
Absolutely. So Stevie, we'll give you the floor and let you give any thanks or make any comments, and then we'll let you go and wrap this thing up.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Like I said, appreciate you, SMB, telling our story. We've got a season sponsor now for the SRFs. Can't thank those guys enough. And still looking for some help with the Formula Fords. The Formula Vs have sponsored themselves, so it's all great. The Ray Esports Club Racing League is going to kick off the middle of next month or so. And that's going to be a lot of fun with club-based racers. So looking forward to that as well. If you guys, if you can help us, if you want to sponsor races, want to be a corporate sponsor, send me a note. We're more than happy to talk with you. So other than that, thank you, Guido. Thank you, Ron. Thank you, Charles. Appreciate you guys. Thanks to everybody on track that come out week to week. And thanks for our viewers and the followers. I said it's a community, and I can't be more proud of being a small part of it.
There you go, Stevie Ray. Thank you very much, and we'll see you. We'll see you next week. We'll be doing it all over again with the Weekend Warriors starting next Saturday.
Yes, sir. We're not going to give you a break.
That's it. Stevie Ray, the head of the Ray Esports League, stopping by to have a little chat with us here at the end of this race, and Ron. Fantastic event today. It's great to see some of the old names come back for this race and ended up putting on a really good show for us.
Oh, they put on an absolutely amazing event. The quintessential Spec Racer Forward Weekend Warriors race. Drafting packs, absolute madness as these racers were packed in with basically nothing as the gap between many a racer up and down this field. A full grid of cars as well, 48 strong, 48 racers with all different stories coming from all corners of the globe. And they put on an absolutely amazing day of racing action here on the iRacing Esports Network. Just a couple of thank yous and shout outs from my own perspective before we wrap up the show and get on with the rest of our days here, get on with the rest of the Sunday here. I want to first, of course, mention the drivers, not only the ones out here on the racetrack in this event, but all of the racers in the Weekend Warriors. Our job is to cover race cars driving around a track, and if there weren't drivers, there wouldn't be a race and there wouldn't be a broadcast. We wouldn't have our jobs. These racers put on glorious racing week after week, whether it be duking it out, going side by side in some of the fastest corners on iRacing, or whether it be switchback maneuvers down into the slowest of hairpins. These competitors always put on some glorious and awesome racing action week in and week out. Of course, I want to thank Stevie Ray. I'm going to correct Stevie himself. He is not a small part of this. He is a massive part of this. Ray Esports was started by him. He worked with the SCCA back during the pandemic to run the SCCA League. He's been a man who's helped me out many times through thick and thin, has always been supportive of my broadcasting, so I want to give a shout out to him. We mentioned him a few moments ago. Mr. Tim Cox, my immediate predecessor, he's been with me throughout many steps of my own broadcasting career. When I was on the Spot 24 show here on the iRacing Esports Network a little bit earlier on this year, right after I was done doing about 9 hours on that show, I got a message from Tim sending his support. I think I was actually still on that show, in fact, when he sent his support and said he was very proud of me. That is an honor that I will continue to live on. That man was absolutely amazing at his job. It's very big shoes that I've had to fill, but I can never fill his shoes. I have my own. Want to once again thank you, Charles, as well. It's always an honor to do these shows together, even though I probably give you a headache with some of the wild stuff that comes out of my mouth. I always love working on these shows together. We have done probably a disturbing amount of broadcasts together over the past couple of years, but it is always an absolute privilege to share a commentary booth with you. Also want to shout out Mr. Guido Marzucchi. He, as I said right towards the start of the show, he had to juggle chainsaws just to get the show live here on the iRacing Esports Network, but he is a brilliant at his job. Earlier on today, he was also doing some commentary on the Formula Ford Weekend Warriors race. He's also a pretty darn good guy as well, so another shout out to Guido. Want to shout out the man who put together all of this here for the show on the iRacing Esports Network, and a man that Stevie mentioned a few moments ago, Mr. Sean Ambrose. Sean is someone who was on this iRacing broadcasting sphere before I really got into it. Like, and see him in the YouTube chat. He's always going to be a Weekend Warriors member at heart, and he even appeared on the Ray Esports Weekend Warriors podcast a couple of episodes ago. I think that may have been a few months ago when he was on that show. Want to once again give a shout out to the boss man here at Slow Motion Broadcasting, Mr. Joshua Wilkie. Him and I run SMB together. He is an awesome business partner, an awesome man, and I'm very delighted to call him a friend. From a personal note, I would also like to thank and give a very early happy birthday wish to my father, who turns 68 years old this upcoming Tuesday. Without him, none of this would have happened. He is the man who dragged me to drag races when I was a 4-year-old and created the speed demon that yaps for a living, talking about virtual cars driving around a screen. All I can say, folks, is it's been an absolute honor presenting the Spec Racer Forward Weekend Warriors 10th anniversary special. But hey, that doesn't even do it for the action here on the iRacing Esports Network as well. Every single week, you can catch the action from the Creator Series, from iRacing special events, the British F4 Esports Championship. They just started up their season at Donington Park just a couple of days ago, and you can catch me on the call along with Mr. Ewan O'Leary every single Friday for the Radical Esports Cup official series that, funnily enough, Mr. Joshua Wilkie used to be the producer for many moons ago. And on SMB, we got action all around the week. Coming up later on tonight, in fact, on Slow Motion Broadcasting, you can see the action from round number 4 of XSLR running ARCA cars at Talladega. I'll be on production duties and commentary duties for that, and I believe, Charles, you'll be out there on the racetrack, so a whole lot of stuff to look forward to, both on the iRacing Esports Network and the Slow Motion Broadcasting YouTube channel. But again, to all of you tuning into the show, thank you for the love, thank you for the support, and thank you for deciding that we were going to be a part of your day bringing this action from the special event. But I think that'll just about do it with all the thank yous and everything taken care of. That'll do it. So for myself, Ron Mullins, Charles Bochelle joining me in the commentary booth, and Guido Marzuki working on the cameras and the graphics and the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the Spec Racer Ford 10th anniversary special here, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.